And now, it's BoomerLife, lifestyle discussion designed to make your life more engaging, meaningful, and complete. Celebrating the baby boomer generation, this is BoomerLife on CIL 650.
We all need somebody to lean on.
This is BoomerLife on CL 650. I'm Joanne Sutton. And for the next hour, we open up the dialogue and conversation about Alzheimer's disease and other dementias in this province. We're joined in the studio today with Maria Howard. Maria is the CEO of the Alzheimer's Society of British Columbia, and we've also invited a panel of experts today to help guide us through the difficult topic of transitioning a loved one from their home to residential care. Maria, thanks again for being here to help us out with this topic.
Oh, thanks, Joanne. It's always great to come.
So let's do a quick recap because we had a really big show last month. We focused on the idea that the diagnosis of dementia is a very important factor. It's actually a tool that could help prepare you for this journey rather than fearing it or suffering anxiety with the diagnosis. And of course, nobody really wants to hear that they have dementia, but we've learned in our interviews last month that it could actually bring a sense of relief as well. So last month, it was a special show. We started off with John Mann, the lead singer of Spirit of the West, and his wife, Jill. They were here in studio. And John just finished his final tour with the band. It was a decision that was made because of his diagnosis with early onset Alzheimer's. So it was an amazing opportunity here to talk to a legend of Canadian music and learn a little bit more about what that diagnosis meant to them and what does it mean when you're in the spotlight and when other extended family members like the band were involved. We also got to speak to Bruce Hobson, and Bruce is a retired doctor, a GP from Powell River, and we spoke to Bruce about the experience of healthcare providers who have to deliver the diagnosis. And Bruce was incredibly eloquent about the importance of the diagnosis and also about the work being done by the Alzheimer's Society BC to help provide support for people in his community on the dementia journey. And what I found was really interesting as well is he spoke about the differences between then, when his grandmother was diagnosed so many years ago, and what services were available then, and to receiving a diagnosis today and the difference to how things are now. And lastly, we spoke with Delia Vischer, and Delia is one of the Society's top fundraisers for the upcoming, actually it was the the upcoming Scotiabank Half Marathon and 5K. It's taking place later this month. It's on June 26th. Sorry, I was getting confused with the Investors Group walk, but we've got the dates all figured out. Maria, I'm overwhelmed now because it really was quite a show. It was dealing with a lot of personal experience and a lot of emotion.
It was, and it was a great show to talk about what happens when a person does receive a diagnosis, because as you said, Joanne, that can be a very scary thing, and I think a lot of people avoid that, but in fact it's an opportunity to start to have conversations and understand that there is a lot of support and help. The Alzheimer's Society BC is willing to help people and always available to help people throughout our province on this journey. Mm-hmm.
It's a great starting point once you've received that diagnosis. So now today we're going to be focusing on the aspect of residential care and the impact that this decision to transition can have for the person who's living with dementia, also for their families and for their caregivers. But before we begin, let me first remind you that there's a lot of information about the Alzheimer's Society of BC online, as well as a wealth of resources at your fingertips. So I invite you to visit the website at alzheimerbc.org. So Maria, first question, I guess, is how can we even start this conversation about introducing the topic of residential care?
It is a big topic. It's a big topic for anybody as they age and begin to manage health issues and start to plan different stages of their life. So it is a very relevant topic. For people who have been diagnosed with dementia or Alzheimer's, for their families, for their care partners, it's an even bigger topic because it's something that is very relevant in helping people to stay safe and to have the care they may need. Not everybody who's diagnosed with dementia and Alzheimer's necessarily ends up living in a care home. There are lots of different ways to support an individual, and families have to make choices what is the best for them. Care partners have to make the best choices for the person with dementia, but also themselves. It's about the whole support network and the best way to keep people safe and have quality of life and continue to honor a person. So it's very much like our conversation last week. It's really important to start the dialogue early, get as much information as possible, and begin to think about choices and options. And I would encourage people as we go through the conversation today, Joanne, not only is our website a wealth of information, but our First Link Dementia Helpline is a place where people can phone anywhere in the province and even just simply ask some questions. And that number is 1-800-936-6033.
Well, I think ultimately, Maria, when you receive that diagnosis of dementia, it means change. It means life as I know it is now over. And I think that can be quite overwhelming for a lot of people.
The dementia journey is full of change. There are many different stages. There are many different things that start to change, again, for the person with the diagnosis as much as for their families and their care partners. And what helps people go through change is hopefully the ability to have as much information as possible and starting the conversation as early as possible so that when things start to unravel and unfortunately maybe some crisis situations might occur, that people have already begun to talk about what might make sense for their own unique individual experience.
Mm-hmm. So maybe you could talk a little bit, Maria, about what people need to keep in mind when they're considering making that decision about transitioning a loved one who has Alzheimer's or dementia into residential care. What are some of the things they should keep in mind?
Well, there are a number of factors. It depends upon where they live in terms of their community and what might be available to them in terms of providing supports in the home, whether that's through, again, the family, the care partners, neighbors, other professional services. Is it the need to eventually move to a place where there is more available care, whether that's an assisted living or eventually into residential care because of perhaps the individual has safety issues, perhaps there are other related health issues that the person is struggling with as well.
They need to be addressed. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. We want to look at the whole person, not just one element of their life. Many people who are living with dementia are in their 70s, 80s, not necessarily all, but people. So their care families, their care partners may be also unable to provide help because of their own health issues. Their family, their extended family may live in different parts. There's a number of different issues like that.
And how can the Alzheimer's Society help? Do you have programs that assist through this? Or?
We do. The Alzheimer's Society of BC provides a number of different educational programs. We have one series called Transitioning to Residential Care, which is a really great support group or a support education series for families or care partners to participate in, to help them begin to think through some of the important issues and also begin to think of some of the important questions. Questions not only for themselves, but also questions to ask their family or their family physicians.
Certainly. So the thought of looking at care residents can be completely daunting. I don't even imagine I would know where to start. But looking ahead and trying to address some of those difficult questions before they reach a crisis point, I think is one of the most important topics we will cover today, and knowing when to ask for support. So start us off today talking about the question of residential care and its impact and importance to the dementia journey. We're going to be welcoming our first guest into the studio, and that's going to be Jerry Hinton. Now, Jerry can speak to the dementia journey from a place of both professional and a personal understanding as well. And you're familiar with Jerry, aren't you?
Yes, Jerry is a great supporter of the Alzheimer's Society of BC. She is an individual who has been connected to healthcare for many years. She has had her own personal experience in living with dementia through supporting her husband. And I think she brings a wealth of experience and common sense to what people need to start to think about to get to the place where it's the best decision for their family.
Well, we all look forward to hearing what Jerry has to say. We're also very fortunate today to have Jane Devji as a guest. Now, Jane is the CEO of DeltaView, and that's the residence just off Highway 99 at Highway number 10. You probably drive by it on your morning commute. Jane is going to be speaking from the perspective of someone working with people with dementia in a care residence.
I think having Jane here today is really wonderful because Jane brings, again, a lot of experience having running a care home and meeting many families. She's seen many different experiences. She understands the range of emotions people go through. She has lots of ideas about what families should consider in thinking about some of these tough decisions.
I understand she's a little bit instrumental as well in the fundraising department for the Alzheimer's Society of BC.
She and her family are real champions, so we really appreciate their support.
Oh, that's great. Now, I say that because I've had the opportunity on this station to speak with Jane in the past about her efforts of climbing Kilimanjaro. I don't know if we'll have time to get into that today, but from what I understand, she's on her 4th attempt, and she will be going this year. So congrats to Jane and her family for being involved. And then finally on today's show, we're going to be looking ahead to the Investors Group Walk for Alzheimer's by checking in with Marg Rogers. And Marg is the volunteer walk chair for the Kamloops region.
Marg is a very dynamic individual, as you will hear today. She is one of our longest standing volunteer committee chairs for the Investors Group Walk for Alzheimer's. She has a really great community sense of supporting people in the Kamloops area, understanding what it's like to support families with Alzheimer's and raising awareness and raising funds. She's a really great person.
Excellent. We look forward to hearing from Marg as well. So I believe it's going to be another great show with the lineup we have today. Let us help you with those difficult topics and conversations about considering a transition to a care residence for someone that you love who happens to have dementia or Alzheimer's disease. It all starts in a moment right here on CL 650.
Celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CL 650.